I never thought my life could unravel so fast. I'm Lily, trapped in a suburban fairy tale that's more cage than castle, where every day with my husband Paul feels like a rerun I can't escape. The manicured lawn, the predictable dinners, the suffocating routine. It's all closing in, and I'm starving for something real, something wild. But tonight, at a party I've poured my heart into planning, a dangerous spark ignites inside me, pushing me toward a choice that could shatter everything I've ever known. What did I do under the cover of laughter and music that changed my world forever? Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of my perfectly trimmed lawn, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows over the tidy flower beds, and I can't shake this gnawing ache inside me, like a splinter I can't pull out. My name's Lily, I'm 31, and I've been living in this picture-perfect suburban bubble for far too long. This two-story house, with its crisp white siding and orderly shutters, should feel like a dream. Instead, it's starting to feel like a beautifully decorated cell. I've been married to Paul for 6 years now. He's 34, an accountant with a heart of gold and a schedule you could set a clock by. I used to find comfort in that, his steady hands, his quiet reliability. But somewhere along the way, that comfort turned into confinement. Every day is a carbon copy of the last. Dinner's on the table at 6 p.m. sharp, some predictable casserole or grilled chicken. Then we're parked on the couch, watching the same tired shows until 9 p.m. rolls around. By 10, we're in bed, lights out, no surprises. It's like living in a looped rerun, and I'm desperate to change the channel. I wasn't always like this, itching for something more. There was a time when Paul's predictability was my anchor. After a chaotic few years in my 20s, his calm was a balm. But now, it's suffocating. I catch myself staring out the window, past the manicured hedges, wondering what's out there beyond the cul-de-sac. I want to feel alive again, to taste something wild and untamed, but I don't even know where to start. Or maybe I do, and I'm just too scared to admit it. Then there's Sarah, my best friend since college, who's the complete opposite of this buttoned-up life. She's a free-spirited artist, always showing up with paint smudges on her jeans and stories of late-night gallery openings or impromptu road trips. She's constantly nudging me to break out of my shell, to live a little, as she puts it. Last week, over coffee, she leaned in close, her eyes glinting with mischief, and whispered, "Lily, you're wilting here. You need to shake things up before you forget how to bloom." Her words stuck with me, burrowing deep, making me question everything I've settled for. And then there's Mark, Paul's closest friend since high school. He's the kind of guy who walks into a room and owns it without even trying. Charming, adventurous, always with a story about some daring escapade, skydiving, backpacking through remote mountains, you name it. He's got this way of looking at me, a subtle, lingering smile that sends a jolt through my system every time. It's not overt, nothing I could call out, but it's there, simmering beneath the surface. When he's around, I feel this pull, this desire for something more, my heart already racing before my eyes even opened. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting golden stripes across the bedroom, but all I could feel was this tangled mess of nerves and excitement churning in my chest. Today's the day of the party, the one I've been planning for weeks, and it's not just about balloons and burgers. There's something bigger brewing inside me, something I can't quite name yet, but it's pushing me forward, daring me to step over a line I've never crossed before. I rolled out of bed, pulling on a worn t-shirt and jeans, and padded downstairs to find Paul already at the kitchen table, his laptop open and a mug of black coffee steaming beside him. I plastered on a bright smile, wider than necessary, and chirped a good morning as I poured myself a cup. He barely looked up, mumbling something about a new spreadsheet project he's been obsessing over, numbers and formulas spilling out of him like they're the most thrilling thing in the world. I nodded along, stirring sugar into my coffee with too much force, my voice a little too high as I asked about his day. He didn't notice the strain behind my cheerfulness, didn't see the way my hands trembled just a bit as I set out plates for breakfast. To him, it's just another Saturday, just another event to check off the list. But for me, every tick of the clock feels like a countdown to something inevitable. After breakfast, I threw myself into decorating the house, draping colorful streamers across the doorways and winding them around the banister. I dragged out the Bluetooth speaker and curated a playlist of upbeat tracks, the kind that get your pulse pumping, while my mind spun in a completely different direction. As I adjusted a string of fairy lights over the patio door, I couldn't stop imagining what it would be like to just leave. Not forever, maybe, but for a night, for a moment, to slip out of this life like shedding a too tight skin. The thought made my stomach flip, half with fear, half with a thrill I haven't felt in years. I grabbed my phone and dialed Sarah, needing to hear her voice, to anchor myself in something familiar before the chaos of the evening. She picked up on the second ring, her tone playful as always. "Hey, party girl, you ready for tonight?" she teased, and I forced a laugh, confirming she'd be there with bells on. Then she dropped her usual line about how I need to spice things up, her voice dripping with mischief, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I didn't let on, just agreed with a quick giggle before hanging up, my fingers lingering on the phone as her words echoed in my head. If only she knew how close I am to doing just that. I sent out a few last-minute texts, including one to Mark, Paul's old high school buddy. My thumb hovered over the send button for a second too long before I tapped it. A sense of anticipation as the party kicked into full gear. The house buzzed with laughter and the clink of glasses, the air thick with the scent of grilled burgers and cheap beer. I moved through the crowd, a plastic smile on my face, nodding at familiar faces while my mind raced with the plan I'd been turning over for days. My heart thumped so loud I swore someone would hear it over the music. I'd been teetering on the edge of something dangerous, something reckless, and tonight I was ready to jump. I needed to feel something, anything, to break free from the monotony that had been choking me. This wasn't just a party anymore. It was the stage for my rebellion. I slipped away from the kitchen, where Paul was holding court with a few coworkers, his voice droning on about tax season. My steps were deliberate as I made my way to the living room, my eyes locking on the low cabinet tucked against the wall near the couch. It was an old piece of furniture, barely used, just a place to stash extra blankets and forgotten board games. Perfect for what I had in mind. I glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then dropped to my knees, crawling beneath it. I wedged myself in tight, my shoulders pressed against the rough edges, the cold, dusty wood scraping against my bare arms. A shiver ran through me, not just from the chill, but from the sudden, suffocating realization that I might actually be stuck. My breath hitched, panic clawing at my chest for a split second before I forced myself to calm down. I had to sell this. It had to look real. I took a deep breath and let out a cry for help, my voice sharp and laced with a desperation that wasn't entirely fake. "Hey, someone! I'm stuck under here!" The words echoed through the house, cutting through the hum of conversation and music. My pulse raced with a mix of adrenaline and nerves as I heard hurried footsteps approaching. Two familiar faces appeared, Mark with his ever-present smirk, and Jake, another of Paul's buddies, his brow furrowed in confusion. They crouched down, peering at me under the cabinet, their expressions shifting from concern to bewilderment. "Lily, what the hell happened?" Mark asked, his voice tinged with amusement as he reached for my arm. I was trying to grab something and I got wedged in," I stammered, my tone trembling just enough to be convincing. They tugged at my arms, their hands firm but cautious, trying to pull me free. I resisted, gripping the inside of the cabinet with all my strength, making it look like I was truly trapped. My skin prickled with the effort, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I met Mark's gaze, his dark eyes searching mine, and in a low, deliberate whisper, I said, "You can do whatever you want." The words hung heavy in the air, loaded with intent, and I saw the shift in his expression. A flicker of surprise, then something darker, hungrier. There was a beat of stunned silence, the kind that feels like it stretches on forever. Then Mark's lips curled into a hesitant smirk, and Jake let out a nervous chuckle, rubbing the back of his neck as he processed what I'd just offered. They exchanged a quick glance, a silent agreement passing between them, before Mark straightened up. "Hang on," he muttered, stepping away. I heard him call out to the others, his voice low but urgent, summoning more of Paul's friends, Tom, Ryan, Ethan, Chris, and Ben. Their hushed whispers reached me as they gathered nearby, a mix of curiosity and uncertainty in their tones. My stomach twisted, a cocktail of dread and exhilaration churning inside me as they approached, their shadows looming over the cabinet. What followed was a blur of forbidden thrill, a reckless dive into desires I'd buried for far too long. Right there in the living room, with the party's noise spilling in from the kitchen to mask our secret, each a piece of this wild, untamed escape I desperately craved. I'm still under the cabinet, my breath shallow, the dust clinging to my skin as the weight of what just happened settles over me like a heavy fog. The thrill is fading now, replaced by a creeping unease that I can't shake. My heart is still hammering, but it's not just from the rush anymore. It's something else, something colder. Then I hear it. Footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from the hallway. They're not hurried like the others who came to help me. No, these are heavier, loaded with something I can't quite place yet. I twist my head as much as I can in this cramped space, my neck straining, and there he is. Paul, standing in the doorway of the living room, his silhouette framed by the dim light filtering in from the kitchen. His face is frozen, pale as if all the blood has drained out of him, his eyes wide with a shock that cuts right through me. The guys around me scatter like startled birds, their voices low and frantic as they mutter half-baked excuses, fumbling with their clothes, zipping up jackets and tugging at shirt hems. Their footsteps fade as they slip away, leaving me alone under this stupid cabinet, my heart sinking so low it feels like it's hit the floor. I can't pretend anymore. I don't even try. With a grunt, I push myself out from under the wood, no longer acting like I'm stuck. My legs are shaky as I scramble to my feet, the dust and grime sticking to my palms and knees. I brush myself off, but it doesn't matter. I can feel Paul's gaze burning into me, and when I finally stand to face him, it's like the air has been sucked out of the room. His eyes are still wide, but now they narrow, pain flickering in them like a storm about to break. His hands are trembling, gripping the doorframe so hard I can see the knuckles whitening under the strain. I've never seen him like this, so raw, so broken. For a moment, shame crashes over me like a tidal wave. My cheeks burn, hot and stinging, as I take in the betrayal etched into every line of his face. I've hurt him, really hurt him, and the weight of that realization nearly buckles my knees. I open my mouth, maybe to apologize, maybe to explain, but nothing comes out. Because then, something shifts inside me. It's like a switch flips, and the shame starts to dissolve, replaced by something harder, colder. I realize I don't care. Not about him, not about our marriage, not about the neat little life we've built together in this suffocating house. I've been drowning in it for years, and I'm done pretending I can keep swimming. I straighten up, my spine stiffening as I brush more dust off my jeans, the gesture almost casual, like I'm wiping away the last traces of guilt. I meet Paul's gaze, not with remorse, but with defiance. My chin lifts, my eyes locking onto his, daring him to say something, to challenge me. I can see the questions swirling in his mind, the hurt morphing into something sharper, but I don't flinch. I'm not the Lily he thought he knew. Not anymore. The woman who smiled through casseroles and predictable evenings is gone, and in her place is someone who's finally waking up. Paul tries to speak, his mouth opening, then closing, before he finally forces out the words. His voice breaks, raw and jagged, as he whispers, "Why, Lily?" There's so much in that question. 6 years of trust, of quiet nights, of a life we promised to share. But I don't let him finish whatever else he wants to say. I cut him off, my own voice steady, cutting through the silence like a blade. "I've been dying in this marriage, Paul. I needed to feel alive." The words hang between us, heavy and unapologetic. I don't soften them, don't try to ease the blow. I let them land, watching as his face crumples, as the reality of what I've done, what I've chosen, sinks in. The air feels like it's turned to stone, pressing down on me as I stand there, staring at Paul's shattered expression. I've said my piece, and there's no taking it back now. My words linger, sharp and unyielding, a wall between us that I've built with my own hands. I turn away from him, my movements mechanical, and head upstairs to our bedroom without another word. My mind is a storm, but my body moves with purpose, driven by a resolve I didn't know I had until this moment. I'm done. Done with the charade, done with the weight of a life that's been suffocating me for too long. I'm leaving, and I'm not looking back. In the bedroom, the familiar space feels alien now, like I'm trespassing in someone else's life. The bed is neatly made, the way Paul always insists, with the corners tucked just so. The framed photo of us on our wedding day sits on the nightstand, a frozen smile from a time when I thought this was forever. I don't linger on it. Instead, I grab the old suitcase from the closet, the one we used for our honeymoon all those years ago, and fling it open on the bed. My hands move with a cold efficiency, pulling clothes from drawers, jeans, sweaters, a handful of shirts, and stuffing them in without folding. I don't care about neatness now, I just need to get out. I snatch a few of my favorite books from the shelf, the ones that have been my escape on countless quiet nights. Their worn spines, a reminder of the worlds I've longed to live in. Then I grab a small box of personal keepsakes. A locket from my grandmother, a journal I've barely written in but can't bear to leave behind, and toss it in too. Every item I pack feels like a brick in the foundation of my new beginning, heavy but necessary. As I zip up the suitcase, I hear it, a soft, broken sound drifting up from downstairs. Paul's sobbing, quiet but unmistakable, each shuddering breath piercing through the silence of the house. It's a sound I've never heard from him before, raw and unguarded, and for a fleeting second, it tugs at something deep inside me. A pang of regret, maybe, or the ghost of the love we once had. My chest tightens and I pause, my hand gripping the suitcase handle. I could go down there, say something to ease his pain, offer some kind of closure. But I don't. I can't. That part of me, the part that would have run to him, is buried under layers of resentment and the burning need for freedom. I push the ache down, lock it away, and focus on what I want, what I need. This isn't about him anymore. It's about me. I hoist the suitcase off the bed, the weight of it grounding me as I make my way back downstairs. Each step feels like a finality, a deliberate severing of the ties that have held me here. When I reach the bottom of the stairs, I see Paul still in the living room, standing near that cursed cabinet, the silent witness to the moment that broke everything. His face is streaked with tears, his eyes red and swollen, and he looks at me with a desperation that nearly stops me in my tracks. Those eyes plead with me, begging for a reason to stay, for a chance to fix what's been shattered. But I shake my head slowly, my expression hard, unyielding. "It's over, Paul," I say, my voice low but firm, each word a nail in the coffin of our marriage. I can't live this lie anymore. I've been pretending for too long, and I'm done. His shoulders slump, and he takes a shaky step forward, as if he might reach for me, but I hold up a hand to stop him. There's something else I need to say, something that will make this cut even deeper, but it's the truth. And I'm not hiding anymore. I'm leaving with Mark, I tell him, watching the shock ripple across his face. He's been waiting for me outside. We talked earlier. Here I am, sitting on the edge of Mark's worn-out couch, surrounded by a chaos of mismatched furniture and half-unpacked boxes in his tiny apartment. It's a far cry from the sterile perfection of the house I shared with Paul, where every surface gleamed and every item had its designated spot. This place is cluttered, lived in, with stacks of old vinyl records leaning against the wall and a coffee table littered with empty beer bottles and crumpled takeout menus. The air smells faintly of cigarette smoke and something earthy, like the incense Mark burns sometimes. It's messy, imperfect, and yet, for the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. The weight of all those expectations, the suffocating routine I'd been trapped in, seems to have lifted off my shoulders, leaving behind a lightness I'm still getting used to. The first few days here have been a whirlwind, a dizzying rush of emotions and experiences I never thought I'd chase again. Mark and I stay up until the early hours, tangled in conversation and laughter, our voices echoing off the thin walls as we share stories we've never told anyone else. There's a raw energy between us, a spark that ignites every time our eyes meet, leading to moments of intense connection that I can only describe as a dance of unspoken desires. We've explored the city in ways I never did before, wandering through dimly lit streets, popping into dive bars with sticky floors, and watching the sunrise from hidden rooftops he seems to know like the back of his hand. One night, we ended up at a tiny diner at 3 a.m., splitting a plate of greasy fries, my head resting on his shoulder as the world outside felt like it belonged only to us. It's spontaneous, messy, and utterly freeing, like I've finally stepped out of a cage I didn't even realize I was in. But it's not all a fairy tale. There are moments when doubt creeps in, slithering into the quiet spaces between the laughter. I'll glance at my phone and see a missed call from Sarah, her name flashing on the screen like a silent accusation. I haven't answered yet. I know she's probably heard everything by now. The whispers, the rumors about what went down at the party, about how I left Paul without a backward glance. I can almost hear her voice, that mix of concern and judgment, asking me what I was thinking, if I've lost my mind. I don't know how to explain it to her, how to make her understand that I had to do this, that staying would have killed something inside me. So I let the calls go to voicemail, telling myself I'll face her eventually, when I'm stronger, when I've figured out how to put my choices into words. And then there are the thoughts of Paul. They sneak up on me when I least expect it, usually in the quiet of the night when Mark is asleep beside me, his breathing steady and deep. I'll lie there, staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering if he's okay, if he's still in that house surrounded by the ghosts of our life together. I picture him sitting at the kitchen table, alone, with his coffee gone cold, or maybe standing by the window, looking out at the empty driveway where my car used to be. The image stabs at me, a sharp pang of guilt that I can't quite shake. I know I hurt him, shattered something that can't be pieced back together, and part of me aches for the pain I've caused. But then I remind myself why I left, why I had to. I wasn't living in that marriage. I was just existing, fading a little more each day. So I push those thoughts away, bury them deep, and focus on the here and now, on the life I'm building with Mark, on the freedom I've clawed my way toward. I'm not naive. I know this new chapter isn't a guarantee of happiness. There are no promises etched in stone, no certainty about where Mark and I are headed. His apartment, with its peeling paint and leaky faucet, isn't a palace, and our days together aren't always perfect. We argue sometimes, over silly things like whose turn it is to do the dishes.